Hey, well, this video I'm sure has a lot of interesting stuff in it. I am not drawing any final conclusion on anything. I share different observations that I had, and I want to start directly with the most significant thing that actually pushed me over the edge to make this video. And to retain the viewers, let's get straight into the most interesting observation. So, corn is kind of demonic. I saw multiple times, when I watched corn, in the background where the people are doing their act are oftentimes some bookshelves or something. And there are books with weird names there. There's, for example, I saw once there was a book where it was very big, the title Drugs. So it's all like suggestive in a certain way. You can check out many times the actors in corn have tattoos and stuff, and the tattoos are oftentimes dark. It's some skeleton, something with death, something with sorrow, grief that someone died or something. You will see such stuff. Those people are also just basically drawn into the entire corn business. Then you see people with Illuminati symbolism. You can see maybe a man who is performing, and it's like person of view, yeah, so you cannot see his face or something, but you can see his arms and so on while he is on it, and he will have the Illuminati pyramid printed onto his lower arm. But this is all still not the craziest part. Without causing lust here or anything, but I'm sure many here are aware of, for example, casting couch type corn. Not really the casting couch, but there's something similar. It's a very popular one. And so this is also where that man, for example, appeared, I saw, with that pyramid at the arm printed. But then I observed something even more disturbing. It was more disturbing than anything else I ever observed. Before we get into that one, a few more comments on what is weird and bad about corn. Look, there's such a strong push for feminism and respecting women and seeing them as more than just objects. And this is actually healthy. But then, if you go into the whole corn, then what is propagated is exactly the opposite. The way the men are talking to the women is oftentimes like, oh yeah, you're such a princess and so valuable, therefore do this and that. And they prove that in this particular setting it is not the case. The woman is indeed used, and they say a lot of bad stuff. They're like, gentlemen first, and then they do something and don't let the woman do it first. So they're completely inverting everything that our society is standing for nowadays. And so if men watch corn and do it especially repeatedly, they cannot socially function in our progressive society that tries to equalize men and women and put away this whole objectification. Corn exactly contradicts that, and it's just crazy that it is allowed to coexist while we are otherwise living in such a cancel culture and everything. But what I saw yesterday is the most disturbing. So yeah, I was experimenting. I saw one of those casting corns, and it always starts the same. The person comes, the woman comes, and it is like a setup that she is wanting to model. And then they tell her, okay, if you want to model, you have to show us this and that pose. And then they get more and more explicit until the woman eventually takes off her clothes. And so it's like revealed like, this is not really for modeling, this is more like a corn setting. So I don't know if it's acted out or not. Of course, I would hope it is acted out and this is all just a setup and not real, like a movie. But it was just weird, because what happens inside of these videos is that the man then kind of manipulates the woman into being okay with undressing herself, even though this was not her official intent. And she's always like, what do you want me to do? And then the guy is like, yeah, if you really want to have the role, you have to do this and that. And so he is manipulating her into that. That's all usual, like I saw this 1,000 times. I'm sure many here know what I'm talking about. Like when you went into contact with corn, this is the usual setup in many videos. But the point is, the moment he was really explaining to her what needs to be done, right before she then takes off her bra, the video shifted. Suddenly, the quality got very low. Yeah, like when you have internet issues or something. Very low pixel quality, resolution. But then the voice was suddenly also distorted, but only the voice of the guy was distorted. I should have recorded it, but it did not cross my mind, and it was actually too terrifying. I don't know if this is also because I was high and the technology was running crazy because of my energy waves that I was sending off. But the point is, the man was sounding different, while the woman, when she was responding, whatever, she still sounded normal, so it was just his voice, and he sounded like the devil himself giving her instructions, where she cannot think properly because she feels this presence, and it is like a hypnosis. This was so crazy. It was literally sounding like the devil, so deep, and you could not understand a single word. It was like a completely different language. It was like I cannot even fake it. It was like from as if it was on purpose. Later I checked the video again and it went back to normal. But it was only this persuasion part. You know, there are so many theories also about artists in general that go into the music industry. There are many theories that those people get actually under the influence of LSD and so on, and they are put into different rituals where they are brainwashed, and then they do stuff that they normally would not do. And who knows, maybe in some cases this is also how corn actors get into corn, but also how artists get into the music industry, working for big labels later on, like Universal. Universal being one of the arms of the Illuminati, basically, and then propagating subconsciously their symbolism to the public and so on. And of course, when people watch this content and then they regularly masturbate to it and they have their climax and so on, they put a lot of energy and emphasis onto this thing that they saw, and it sets in their subconscious, and then it's causing a decay over time, and it's destroying the person's ability to relate and connect in real life. But this is all the negative part I wanted to say, and it's just observations that I have. Nevertheless, I had multiple experiences where the hyperstimulation in by itself, if you take it away from any symbolic meaning and so on, caused an uplift of energy. But if you do it too often, it's not. I was on a streak of 10 days. It was all going well. I got a lot of already positive attention from people now again. But you have to understand what the semen retention journey is really about, just as every aspect of human life. Deep down, we are spirit, we are souls. I believe in the concept of individuality, surviving death, and reincarnating into the next body. You know, the deeper layer, not our programming, not our ego. And what the soul is doing, it wants experience, and it wants to learn by experiencing and doing. It does not learn by applying a doctrine that is given and just executing it without any own further seeking and evaluation. And so this is, in my opinion, why I, for example, after 10 days decided to again relapse. This is not a reset or anything, this is just a straight relapse. Like, I know how to do it. If you just normally do it and you watch corn, you will terribly lower your energy, and it can happen that a lot of bad stuff happens that can be even life-threatening when you just leave the house. So if you don't know what to do, don't. But yeah, the point I was trying to make now is because my soul is seeking experiences and so on, and is also bored of always the same redundancy, I will from time to time go into the underworld deliberately and relapse. Sometimes my soul tells me or feels like, okay, let's go on a long streak. And then other times I'm satisfied enough and I cannot be motivated enough to continue going on again long streaks, because I get still social approval often enough that my nervous system relaxes to the point and gets even bored that I again will relapse even when I maybe should not. But I'm learning to do it less often and find a proper balance that I will basically stay on streaks all the time. I think the best idea or tendency that I want at some time to establish is a relapse once a month. This is also actually very interesting because it would align with the moon cycle. I don't know if it would balance itself out in a way that it would always happen around the full moon or new moon, or it would just be a 30-day cycle that is unaligned, so to speak, not synchronized with the moon cycle. But in general, it seems very good to do it just once every month. And I think it rather boosts and really resets your energy. But now that I did it after 10 days, I was exhausted. I have to say a lot. And even today, I wake up and I was still exhausted. I think 10 days is too low. I should have pushed further and sticked with the practice for longer, I assume, I don't know. Or varied more in the approach and not go all in, I don't know. So I'm trying to figure that out for myself. I don't like just listening to what people say and then apply it and get shamed into, oh, you did not apply, so you're bad. So I will do exactly as I feel and find my own rhythm. Yeah, because look, I was even listening yesterday to Terence McKenna, and he was explaining how, and I heard this now multiple times, even from Predictive History, this huge channel of a Chinese guy who is holding lectures about all the conspiracies and everything. Those people are saying in the past humans were more tribal and they had like orgies as part of the event that holds the community together. Those orgies, everyone was doing it with everyone, a very primal, animalistic type of society. This bind people together in the past. Also Sparta, for example, such places were having such rituals. And then they were powerful because they had synergy and they were synchronized towards each other. Everyone cared about everyone. It is also said that in the past, females tended in villages and so on to have sex with everyone, every member. This was a positive evolutionary strategy because then when they got pregnant, everyone could have been potentially the father, so everyone would look out for the child. So there was much more cohesion in the society than now. Nowadays, all of this is considered bad, and so we externalized it into the unhealthy channel of corn, where we participate but in a passive way by looking at the screen and other than that being isolated. And then also it's interesting that these orgies and so on happened like once in a month, not more often, like not every 10 days, for example, like now when I watched Korn again. So I think it is reasonable for my spirit to tend towards stretching longer these moments I go without it and do it like once only a month, for example. I think the big point is in these traditions and what those people were talking, like Terence McKenna and Predictive History and so on, they were like, okay, you do it once every month with other people, and this is important that you really do it with them, and this is what builds the cohesion. But I would take it a step further and apply knowledge of people like Eckhart Tolle, so to speak, where they say what really matters is your own internal state of being. So if you feel everyone is hostile and not trustworthy, this is what you will manifest in the outside world. But if you are with love looking at everyone, then also the energy field synchronizes and everyone will do the same with you. And I had multiple experiences in the past where in one single time of watching stimulating content of different intensities actually made me more chill, more positive, more satisfied, and therefore more loving towards other people. So I think, hardcore retaining is not really the solution, because if you completely stay away, then you also get distant. I see many long time retainers who are talking about isolation and losing your friends and so on. This is not the solution. It seems that by evolution, people were supposed to partake in sexual acts to create actually synchronization and coherence. And I think if you do it by yourself, but you apply the same 1 month rule, you still shift your perception in the positive way and create the coherence from yourself, because you create it in your outer reality.